when you consider that it's the end of June now. Blue skies ahead on at least my left and right hand side looking a bit grey and cloudy, but the left hand side looking a bit clear and blue. Goulburn being notorious for its cold winters, it's usually start about Anzac Day and run until a long weekend in October. It's a pretty nice day this time of the year and from now on. Not only is it the cold temperatures, even in the daytime, that's the wind. Goulburn's a very windy place. Coming up to Park Road, on the right hand side is the railway, and the men's shed is in there. Going left, as we will be there, Park Road is the main road into East Goulburn, or East Grove as it's called. Men's shed, I was just mentioning, a place where obviously men, but I don't know if they take women or not, but mostly guys that are retired, handymen, things like that, carpenters, ex-tradies who are still looking for things to do. And they go there and they work on all sorts of things like lawnmowers, bicycles, so that I think you can buy some of their stuff. They do it as a way of keeping themselves interested in things, and a bit of camaraderie, sit around and drink coffee and tell stories. I don't know anything about membership details, in other words, whether you just apply or go down and join, or there's a fee or a form to fill in or something. I know sometimes they take some young fellas under their wing and show them a few of their skills as well. I think it's a good thing. On the left hand side here is what's known as car convoy fields. I don't know who either car or convoy were. Once they were just called East Grove Fields. I think they play rugby league on them sometimes. It might be touch football they play rather than rugby league. Further back, behind the pavilion there, netball courts. I don't know which, if any, sports are in progress in Goulburn at the moment. I see some rugby league posts there and a bit of a marquee here because there are some cricket pitches as well. Morning, how are you? Straight ahead, this is Park Road, as I said earlier. This is the road up to the War Memorial I mentioned. You might be able to just see that over on the left there. Pretty steep hill once you get past the school. I know there are some runners who used to go up there. I've got to say I'm not one of them. I think it's beyond my capabilities. side of the old East Grove soccer fields. There's still soccer posts at the far end there, and football fields. There's an around football. I don't think they play any games here now, but maybe some of the clubs train here. There's some lights. Some people do, I guess they train at night. A toilet block that's been recently replaced. This is a new one. When I say new, it's probably been here a few years now, but it was an old brick one. This is Forbes Street we're on now, and we're heading towards the third of the bridges of this run. This is the Bungonia Road Bridge or Landsdowne Bridge. Say a bit more about that when we get a bit closer. If there's been a lot of rain, parts of this track along here will be underwater. It might take a few days for the water to soak into the soil or evaporate or drain away, or a combination of all of those things. It's called the Forbes Street, Bungonia Road, Braidwood Rd shared path. Shared between, I guess, walkers, runners, cyclists. Might just be able to see over on the left-hand side, I beg your pardon, a couple of kangaroos. I can see them moving, but I don't know if the camera will pick them up or not. So, if you're watching from overseas, we don't have kangaroos bounding down the main streets of our town. But if you come to the right places at the right time, you will see some kangaroos reasonably close to town. One of the other courses that I run goes around the wetlands, and I often see kangaroos in there. As you can see it on the camera now, the building, the tower on my right hand side with the red roof, that's part of the Old Goulburn Brewery. Talk a bit more about that when I get over the bridge here. I want to keep track of the kilometres, we're on 10 kilometres. So we've got another 2 or 3 till we get back to my home. We're coming on to the approach now for the Landsdowne Bridge, or the bridge on the Bungonia Road. The reason it's called the Landsdowne Bridge, I think, is because there's a property here called Landsdowne Now you can see a very functional concrete bridge spans the Mulwarry River. There was a wooden bridge, a timber bridge, that was in its place. It stood there for about 100 years and got to the point where the deck was unsafe and the bridge was closed for about 3 years while various authorities decided what sort of bridge to build, who was going to pay for it and so on. Might just be able to see a head and slightly to the right some lumps of wood sticking out of the ground. They have interpretive panels about the bridge and the history of this area, and the timber was from the old bridge. So anyway, the old bridge was closed for about 3 years, and then we started work on this one. I think it took them something like 2 years, maybe not that long. I think it opened in about 2018. Original cost was quoted at being $5 million. By the time they'd finished it, it was $18 million. They say because they had to acquire some land back on there in the area behind me to deviate Forbes Street, made the intersection a bit safer. Still a bit risky to me, but it's a bit safer than what it was. And because they had to do road works and rehabilitation and so on, the cost, as I said, is 18 million. 18 million. Now, when the bridge was open, they said it would last for 100 years. So I suppose it's something like $180,000 a year. It's probably good value for money. Called the Bungonia Road because just if you follow this road out, you'll come to Bungonia. It's a national park. I mentioned earlier the Goulburn Brewery, which you might be able to see now, the tower through the trees there with the red roof. It was an actual working brewery. All of these panels that tell you about the area and the brewery that I'm just going to talk a bit about. It wasn't a working brewery in historic times. That's in the early days of Goulburn, the 1850s or whenever Goulburn was first settled. And then I think it stopped functioning, just closed down. And then a priest, I think, reopened it and ran it as a brewery and used the money he made through it to service his charities and whatever things he did. I think it's been closed for probably close on 2 decades now. It was a popular watering hole for a while. He used to do some food, light lunches and things like that. Not sure why it closed, but hello. The church thought a brewery wasn't a thing for a priest to be operating, or it just was uneconomical, I don't know. But it's ironic because out across from the big marina, and what used to be the original regional distribution centre, is now a brewery, makes boutique beers. I can't tell you the name of any of them, because I don't drink beer. But I know that they do make beer there, and it's a functioning brewery. I reckon that all these buildings are heritage listed, so nothing can be done with them, or at least if anyone was to buy them, they would be required to keep the facades, and they could do things to the inside, I guess. Off to my left there is the Goulburn harness racing, that being for the trots, I think, and greyhound racing track, and basketball arena, which I think is called Viola Arena, indoor sports and so on. birds singing in the trees. I think they're magpies. A very musical song. I guess we all know about magpie swooping. It's usually the males who do that in August, September to protect their nest. But interestingly, if you put out little bits of meat for them, they'll come and eat that, and they'll somehow remember you. And according to some bit of legend, they can remember faces for up to 10 years, and they won't swoop you. There's a building over here, or a structure over here on the right, which is a commemorative area for some of the early sports people of Goulburn. Again, I have a video on my channel that tells you a bit about it off the top of my head. I can't name any of the sports people commemorated there, but it's called Honour Park. It's the intersection of the Bungonia Road and Braidwood Rd. Continued straight rather than taking the Bungonia Road. Obviously you get to Braidwood. And coming up a bit of a hill here to cross the railway line.